Without, I don't want to bash Cory because it's something that she had to do at the time. She wanted to do it, and that's now what happened. Then was brownouts for 9 hours, but there was a solution, and it went up when Ramos took over. It went up when they took over. It went up. Now this time, your first problem is going to be the problem of corruption in the Arroyo administration. And the acceptance rating of Gloria is way down. It's like this, you know. Now, what part of that solutions will you offer to get in, other than the reforms in the stock market?
If you look at, for instance, now our national budget, it's 1.4 trillion pesos.
Yes.
The biggest national budget that we had, even during martial law under Marcos, we only had not more than 200 billion.
That's the last term.
And that was the biggest. Well, international studies continue to confirm the fact that at least 40 to 50% of our national budget goes to corruption. Imagine during the time of Marcos, 200 billion, 50% of that, get the average. That's about 100 billion going to corruption. Now you have 1.4 trillion. The figures are the same, if not going up. They even say corruption is as high as 65% to 70%. But let's just take 50%. You see, 50% of 1.4 trillion is how much? 700
plus
billion?
Yeah.
My goodness, that savings that you could get if you could eliminate corruption, fight corruption that way by just making sure you know, that nothing in the national budget goes to waste. You have something that will provide for the basic necessities of our people, and in fact also spark the economy. But that's only one thing. The second is our tax collection. Look, our average efficiency in tax collection is only 15%. If you increase your tax collection rate to 1 percentage point, that translates into hundreds of billions of pesos.
That's right.
You see, if you only increase tax collection by, let's say, 20%, which is still below the norm of efficient governments, for that matter, where their tax rate is much higher, boy, you will be getting even revenues that will be much higher than our present national budget now. So just focus on these two. You don't have to come up with EVAT and further oppress our people. Really, the root cause is corruption. Try to be efficient in your tax collection rate, and try to be efficient and do fiscal restraint in so far as the spending of your budget, and then you have the solution to coming up with the basic expenses to address the needs of our people.
We don't really have a stimulus, an economic stimulus like the industrialized countries have. Well, because we export people, you know, we don't export products.
We're safe.
Yeah, we're safe.
Well, so long as Abu Dhabi stays together, okay? And the rate that's going,
in your reckoning, would you favor government stimulating the steering up the economy?
No, I don't think government should put in money to pump prime the economy. I think what, if at all, what government's effort should be is to provide the environment. That's all.
So you stay away from this.
That should be the principle of our.
Which means you are saying no infrastructure.
Yes, even infrastructure.
Minimum infrastructure.
In fact, the direction, even the direction of government.
Telecommunications.
To begin with, government does not have the money. All right. But you have to amend the Constitution in order to enable us to have the funds for this purpose. In public utility alone, when you have something very restrictive, only 40% foreign capital is needed. When you, I am very familiar, for instance, with the cost and the funding of the construction of the Terminal 3 at the airport, where the Filipino investor, which is supposed to own 60%, only really put in $5 million.
Are you lawyering for any party?
Well, I used to be lawyering for people who were adverse by the like the operators, service operators there. But I found out that the German partner of the public utility company put in the entire amount of $550 million US. Well, that only translated, that translated only into 40%. But you see, they had to violate the law and use dummies for this purpose.
Yeah,
Why can't
stooge.
we be straightforward? Why
Yeah.
don't we amend the Constitution? Because we don't want government to participate in business. Government is the most inefficient entity to get into business.
What is your first or even top of your head reaction to remedy the $480 billion peso deficit now?
Improve tax collections. That's all that you could do.
Okay,
You know,
okay.
because why? Our problem is you borrow money. You borrow money to fund your deficit. You borrow money knowing pretty well that you cannot pay it.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
So
okay.
why will you do it on that basis?
That's
In
even
fact,
worse than the subprime.
That is definitely.
But there's a difference in
Yeah.
government.
Yeah.
All you have to do is get away from office.
Yeah.
Problema na susunod ng presidente.
Exactly. Yan
Diba?
ang-
Kaya
yan ang-
utangin na natin lahat ngayon. Patay na naman ako bukas, mga anak ko, mga apo ko, mayaman na yan.
Yan ang pinakamahirap. Yan, no? Dapat siguro kung umutang tayo to fund specific projects, even in
Ayun.
infrastructure and so on. And then you make that
Yung
infrastructure
hihita.
pay
Yung
for.
hihita.
Yeah, yung
Oh,
kiki, di ba?
yeah.
Pero to fund your deficit, oh my goodness, that's, getting into a quicksand.
Parang ang
There's
nangutang
no
yan
recovery
para
from
bumili
it.
ng pagkain.
Yeah.
Yun. Wala rin. Ito among the vice presidential candidates, the electoral process in this country does not lock in the vice president to the running president. Okay. You have your political party, so your senators and the local positions go along with the political party as you campaign. When it comes to the actual mandate, you can be separated from your president and or the senators. Now, the other senators that are running, I'd like to pitch you against them, okay? You've got, let's say, among the executive group, you only have Mayor Binay going with Estrada. He seems to have proved his competence in an executive way, by his examples being Makati. You've got Bayani Fernando on the very same line, having Marikina. He runs under Gordon. Of course, you've got Channel 2 on the other side, on Gilbert's side. That's entertainment, so I won't talk about that. We'll go forward. Then we also have another politician, the other two. That's Lauren Legarda, and you've got Rojas. How do you pit yourself against the two strong executives that have said and claim, because in their speeches and every time they go on TV, yun na lang, they stay the course and say, ito ginawa ko, anong gusto mo pa? Yung mga iba, wala na eh. Of course, the politicians, you know, they'll say this and do that, do this and say that. So, i-out na natin yon as far as competence is concerned. Politiko eh. You are neither. You're not a politician. You're not stained. You have no corrupt background. You've got even a religious backing, which is actually to your favor. Because miski pa no, ang pagtakbo ni Eddie Villanueva is he's putting his money where his mouth is. He's putting his foot in his mouth, so to speak, and he's gonna, you know, he doesn't just go on stage and say, "Halika sundan niyo ako," and, you know, Jesus is Lord. I mean, hey, if this is what it's gonna take, I'm gonna run. I'm gonna do my job. If I lose, well, so be it. Pero at least ginawa ko. Ganun ang attitude ni. I've had Eddie here on TV. And I like that. I like his advocacy. I like his determination to help the country. Ako para sa akin, plus 10, plus 20 points. Yan. How do you pit yourself against the other executives running? I mean, competence-wise and doing that job.
Okay. To begin with, talagang ipapakita ko, pagpatunay ko sa ating mga mamboboto, no? Talagang si Yasay ang mas mahusay, no?
Yeah, that's nice, very nice.
And this is what I would like to really engage myself in these campaigns. One, let me tell you that I also have executive experience, having been chairman of the SEC.
Sa bagay, SEC. Administrative yan, executive yan.
And more importantly, the main thrust of SEC's job was to, as part of our reform, was to put in place the basic rules on good governance for big corporations, the biggest business.
Very good.
Nanggaling sa atin lahat yan. So, kabisado natin yan. But let me also let our people know that, you know, to be president of the Philippines, if I should become president, God forbid, if I should succeed the president as vice president, is a different kind of a job that requires more than just executive experience. You know, you